I am Witch Hazel. Welcome to my channel, Enlightenment in the Darkness. This is my familiar, Midnight. Today, Midnight, and I will be discussing ancient Samhain and mythical monsters from the past that bring us our current day Halloween. So grab a warm beverage and let us get started on our mythical journey. Ancient Celts marked Samhain as the most significant of the four quarterly fire festivals, taking place at the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. During this time of year, hearth fires in family homes were left to burn out while the harvest was gathered. After the harvest work was complete, celebrants joined with druid priests to light a community fire using a wheel that would cause friction and spark flames. The wheel was considered a representation of the sun and used along with prayers. Cattle were sacrificed, and participants took a flame from the communal bonfire back to their home to relight the hearth. Early texts present Samhain as a mandatory celebration lasting 3 days and 3 nights, where the community was required to show themselves to local kings or chieftains. Failure to participate was believed to result in punishment from the gods, usually illness or death. There was also a military aspect to Samhain in Ireland, with holiday thrones prepared for commanders of soldiers. Anyone who committed a crime or used their weapons during the celebration faced a death sentence. Some documents mention 6 days of drinking alcohol to excess, typically mead or beer, along with gluttonous feasts. Samhain monsters. Because the Celts believed that the barrier between worlds was breachable during Samhain, they prepared offerings that were left outside villages and fields for fairies or Sids. It was expected that ancestors might cross over during this time as well, and Celts would dress as animals and monsters so that fairies were not tempted to kidnap them. Some specific monsters were associated with the mythology surrounding Samhain. Some specific monsters were associated with the mythology surrounding Samhain, including a shape-shifting creature called a puka that receives harvest offerings from the field. The Lady Gwyn is a headless woman, dressed in white, who chases night wanderers, and was accompanied by a black pig. The Dullahan sometimes appeared as impish creatures, sometimes headless men on horses, who carried their heads. Riding flame-eyed horses, their appearance was a death omen to anyone who encountered them. A group of hunters known as Slua or fairy host might also haunt Samhain and kidnap people. Similar are the Slua, who would come from the west to enter houses and steal souls. One of the most popular Samhain stories told during the festival was of the Second Battle of Mag Tuord, which portrays the final conflict between the Celtic pantheon, known as the Tuatha De Danann, and evil oppressors, known as the Fomor. The myth states that the battle unfolded over the period of Samhain. One of the most famous Samhain-related stories is the Adventures of Nera, in which the hero Nera encounters a corpse and fairies and enters into the other world. Samhain in the Middle Ages. As the Middle Ages progressed, so did the celebrations of the fire festivals. Bonfires known as Samnoggins, which were more personal Samhain fires nearer the farms, became a tradition purportedly to protect families from fairies and witches. Carved turnips called jack-o'-lanterns began to appear, attached by strings to sticks and embedded with coal. Later Irish traditions switched to pumpkins. In Wales, men tossed burning wood at each other in violent games and set off fireworks. In northern England, men paraded with noisemakers. Dumb Supper. The tradition of Dumb Supper began during this time, in which food was consumed by celebrants, but only after inviting ancestors to join in, giving the families a chance to interact with the spirits until they left following dinner. Children would play games to entertain the dead, while adults would update the dead on the past year's news. That night, doors and windows might be left open for the dead to come in and eat cakes that had been left for them. As Christianity gained a foothold in pagan communities, church leaders attempted to reframe Samhain as a Christian celebration. The first attempt was by Pope Boniface in the 5th century. He moved the celebration to May 13th and specified it as a day celebrating saints and martyrs. The fire festivals of October and November, however, did not end with this decree. In the 9th century, Pope Gregory moved the celebration back to the time of the fire festivals, but declared it All Saints' Day on November 1st. All Souls' Day would follow on November 2nd. Samhain merges with Halloween, history of trick-or-treating. Neither new holiday did away with the pagan aspects of the celebration. October 31st became known as All Hallows' Eve, or Halloween, and contained much of the traditional pagan practices before being adopted in 19th century America through Irish immigrants bringing their traditions across the ocean. Trick-or-treating is said to have been derived from ancient Irish and Scottish practices in the nights leading up to Samhain. In Ireland, mumming was the practice of putting on costumes, going door to door, and singing songs to the dead. Cakes were given as payment. Halloween pranks also have a tradition in Samhain, though in the ancient celebration, tricks were typically blamed on fairies. Wicca and Samhain, a broad revival of Samhain, resembling its traditional pagan form, began in the 1980s with the growing popularity of Wicca. Wicca's celebration of Samhain takes on many forms, from the traditional fire ceremonies to celebrations that embrace many aspects of modern Halloween, as well as activities related to honoring nature or ancestors. Wiccans look at Samhain as the passing of the year and incorporate common Wiccan traditions into the celebration. In the Druid tradition, Samhain celebrates the dead with a festival on October 31st and usually features a bonfire and communion with the dead. American pagans often hold music and dance celebrations called witches' balls in proximity to Samhain. Pagans who embrace Celtic traditions with the intent of reintroducing them faithfully into modern paganism are called Celtic Reconstructionists. Pagans who embrace Celtic traditions with the intent of reintroducing them faithfully into modern paganism are called Celtic Reconstructionists. In this tradition, Samhain is called Oit Shamna and celebrates the mating between Tuatha De Danann gods Dagda and River Eunice. Celtic Reconstructionists celebrate by placing juniper decorations around their homes and creating an altar for the dead, where a feast is held in honor of deceased loved ones. So what are your thoughts about ancient Samhain? Please feel free to comment your thoughts below. I would like to thank you for joining me here today on my channel, Enlightenment in the Darkness. Please like and subscribe to my content. Many blessings to the rest of your day.